These systems aren't broken versions of healthy communities. No. They're extractive engines designed to consume identity and labor while calling it belonging.
And that extraction lands hardest on people conditioned to comply.
Totally. On people taught that noticing harm makes them the problem.
You're listening to the CultFroggy podcast.
CultFroggy, jumping through the lies, peeling back the layers, opening your eyes. From the preacher's pulpit to the boardroom floor, cults are everywhere, can't ignore them no
more. Welcome to CultFroggy, the podcast where we don't tell you what to think.
We just point at the swamp and go, hey, maybe don't swim there.
I'm Edward Michael Francis.
And I'm also Edward Michael Francis, the one holding the clipboard that says, are we in Utah already?
Today is our very first episode, which means
we're legally required to pretend we're calm about it.
We are not calm.
Not even a little. This froggy is vibrating.
And joining us, as always, is our executive producer,
Myron Rosander Francis, revolutionary cat, who is not thrilled about this new frog getting added to the family.
Yeah, Myron feels their spotlight has been redistributed.
They're giving CultFroggy the long stare from across the room right now.
But don't worry, Myron.
You always have a vomit corner on all our stages.
We're confident you'll warm up to her.
Eventually.
CultFroggy is a survivor-centered podcast about cults
and cult-adjacent systems.
Workplaces, churches, performance organizations,
online communities, movements, families that come with NDAs.
We'll even get into some famous cults,
including a few celebrity families that hit a few too many of Lifton's 8 to be safe.
Basically, if something demands your loyalty, your labor, and your silence,
and then tells you the harm is actually your fault,
we're going to talk about it.
Slowly, carefully.
With jokes, we hope.
Sometimes inappropriate ones.
But never at the expense of people who were hurt.
If you recognize yourself in something we say,
that's not an accident.
Nuh-uh. That's pattern recognition.
When we hear something we really like on this show,
someone might just get the horn.
What's the horn?
Well, we won't say yet, but we'll give you a hint. Our friends who grew up on 1990s Chicago talk radio will get it. Trust us.
Oh, and one quick thing before we dive in, loves.
Because apparently revolutions also require merch.
If you want to support the show and quietly signal, I notice patterns, check out the CineMarch Media shop at CineMarchMedia.com.
You'll find CultFroggy gear, Myron the Revolutionary Cat merch, and assorted treasures for people who enjoy thinking clearly in public.
Everything lives at CineMarchMedia.com/shop.
All right, deep breath.
For the very first time, cue the sting. All right. Quick orientation before we go any further.
Yes, the where am I and why does this already feel personal portion of the program.
If you've listened to our other shows, some of this may feel familiar.
Same voice, same brain, same unsettling commitment to staring at systems until they confess.
And if you're new here, welcome. You didn't miss an episode.
This is just what it sounds like when an NPR host takes it up the butt.
Ira Glass?
Ooh, shots fired.
CultFroggy uses a two-host format.
Which sounds collaborative until you realize both hosts are me.
Functionally, though, the hosts have different jobs.
Emotionally, this is a workplace accommodation.
Host 1, that's me, handles the framing, definitions, context, the calm voice saying, here's what we're looking at.
And I'm host 2. Hey! Host 2 is here to say, cool. But who got hurt, and why are we pretending that was an accident?
Sometimes that means slowing things down.
Sometimes it means flipping a table verbally.
And sometimes it means translating what a system claims to be.
and what it actually does to people with bodies, bills, and nervous systems.
So if it feels like one mind toggling between public radio calm
And queer id chaos,
that's not tonal whiplash.
that's design.
And CultFroggy shares a lot of DNA with our other work.
We're still doing materialist, systems-first analysis. Still deeply suspicious of tidy narratives and lone villains.
Still allergic to charismatic authority.
Including our own. Especially our own.
And we still use humor the way we always have.
Not to dodge hard stuff, but stay human while naming it.
So here's what's different.
This show isn't media criticism first, even when movies, shows, or internet culture come up.
The unit of analysis here is the system itself.
Not the bad apple, not the obvious monster, not the one guy everyone loves to hate.
We're also not here for spectacle.
No countdown clocks, no shocking twists, no breathless, you won't believe what happened
And
next.
survivors will not be exploited on this show.
They're not case studies, they're not examples. They're not required to perform their pain, so anyone else can feel informed.
Being survivor-centered comes with practical permissions, and we want to say those out loud.
You're allowed to pause an episode.
You're allowed to skip one entirely.
You're allowed to come back later.
Or decide today is not the day, Jesus.
Recognition is not an emergency.
It's information.
Sometimes that information feels clarifying, like something finally snapped into focus.
And sometimes it feels like you need to stop what you're doing and stare at the wall for a minute.
Both of those reactions are normal. It's how you stay human while naming ugly things.
Okay, with all that in place, here's the idea that sits under everything we do here.
People are taught to think cults are rare, extreme, obvious, somewhere else.
Matching outfits, remote compounds, bad hair.
Worse slogans.
That version is comforting.
Because the truth is much more uncomfortable.
Cults are everywhere.
Correct. They show up in corporations, faith communities, performance spaces, political
In
movements.
families, friend groups, and social worlds with unspoken rules and very clear punishments.
Anywhere power hides behind belonging.
Anywhere harm gets reframed as commitment, loyalty, or just how things are done.
Cults are everywhere.
Not because people are stupid.
But because systems are very, very good at what they do.
That's the lens we're using.
That's the mantra.
And that's what we'll be working with for the rest of this show. So some of you might be wondering, why a frog?
I mean, we could have gone with something less cooler. A pigeon, a turtle, literally anything less moist.
But here's the thing. CultFroggy isn't just branding.
She's a thesis statement with legs.
Frogs live in the in-between, water and land, shelter and exposure.
They're not apex predators flexing their dominance.
Not at all. They survive through attunement, through reading the room at a cellular level.
And sometimes that sensitivity feels like a curse.
Yeah, well, frogs are what biologists call sentinel species. Their skin is permeable, so they absorb the environment directly.
No armor, no filter, just raw input.
If the pond turns toxic, the frog is broadcasting that shit before anyone else.
And for autistic survivors especially, that permeability isn't a metaphor.
No, it's Tuesday.
You notice when the rules quietly change mid-game.
Right. Or when belonging starts coming with invisible conditions no one bothered to mention up front.
When the mission statement and the money trail are telling two very different stories.
And when passion starts looking suspiciously like unpaid labor with a vision board.
Systems love to label that sensitivity as negativity, drama, being difficult.
But the frog understands it as information.
Now, physically, frogs are built for the leap. They may look chill, but every muscle is coiled.
Constant state of readiness, ready to move without asking permission.
And high control environments train people to become heavy in a sense.
Rooted in approval, dependent on the group's oxygen to survive.
But the frog remains light, not reckless, just exit capable.
And those eyes, the big googly ones.
Oh, are we doing frog anatomy now?
We are absolutely doing frog anatomy. Those eyes aren't just for looking cute in memes.
Fine, go off.
They're built for peripheral vision. for watching the edges of the room while everyone else stares at the stage.
Oh yeah, for noticing what leadership assumes no one sees.
Okay, that's actually kind of brilliant. You might even say it's riveting.
Oh my Satan.
You're welcome. Now, here's where it gets sharper. You could say it really hops out at you.
I will end this podcast right now.
Frogs aren't dramatic predators. They're ambush hunters, really good at croaking the case.
I'm leaving. I'm actually leaving.
They wait, they observe, and they let the pattern reveal itself.
And when it does, snap. Precision.
That's the method here. We don't chase spectacle or obvious villains.
Right. We watch the architecture repeat itself across rooms that claim to have nothing in common.
But they share the same blueprint.
Yeah. Charismatic authority beyond reproach.
Isolation reframed as focus or dedication.
Exhaustion treated as proof you're committed.
Vulnerability mined and stored for future leverage.
These systems aren't broken versions of healthy communities.
No. They're extractive engines designed to consume identity and labor while calling it belonging.
And that extraction lands hardest on people conditioned to comply.
Totally. On people taught that noticing harm makes them the problem.
So, CultFroggy doesn't offer salvation or a shiny new hierarchy to join.
Nope. She offers recognition.
The moment you realize the discomfort wasn't personal failure.
It was your sensory alarm telling you something was off.
And you were right to notice.
All right, well, I think we've sufficiently explained the frog.
Excuse me. Hi. You explained the frog. I made it entertaining.
The googly-eyed bit was not that deep.
It was thematically relevant.
Anyway, frogs don't join MLMs.
Frogs don't sign loyalty pledges.
And they definitely don't stay in groups that demand you shrink yourself to fit.
They just leave. Mid-sentence if necessary.
We should all be a little more like the frog.
We'll return right after this.
Sup, cult hoppers? Are you a fan of all things dramatic?
You love analyzing the politics behind movies, music, TV, video games, and the occasional book?
Then you'll love our sister podcast, Marxists at the Movies.
It's leftist nostalgia for the people.
Think Das Kapital, but for good burger.
New episodes drop every other Saturday on Patreon with a wide release every month.
You can find out more at our website, CineMarchMedia.com.
Marxists at the Movies, what the script doesn't tell you.
Welcome back, comrades. So, we should probably address the elephant in the room.
Yeah, the banned nerd-shaped elephant.
If you've been with us for a while, you might be wondering,
what is happening to the Marching Revolution?
Short answer, it's not going anywhere.
Longer answer, it got adopted.
Right. The Marching Revolution isn't being canceled, buried, or sent to live on a farm upstate.
It's being folded into CultFroggy.
Because here's the thing we couldn't unsee anymore.
The patterns we were naming in the marching arts were not unique to the marching arts.
Charismatic authority, labor extraction disguised as passion,
exhaustion reframed as virtue.
Yep.
I mean, at some point, it became clear we weren't talking about one ecosystem.
We were talking about foundations.
And calling it only a marching arts project started to feel dishonest.
Right. So, the Marching Revolution continues.
But inside CultFroggy.
Practically speaking, here's what that means.
Most Marching Revolution content will start to live as short-form analysis on the CultFroggy, TikTok, and YouTube.
Because frankly, those patterns show up really clearly in short bursts.
Right, and they reach people who need the language before they're 10 years deep.
We'll also be doing longer seasonal Marching Revolution episodes.
About once or twice a year.
Deep dives, case studies, historical context.
The stuff that needs space.
But nothing is erased.
Nothing is disowned.
If the Marching Revolution is how you found us,
you are not being left behind.
Correct. Your experiences are still central.
And they're part of the evidence base.
CultFroggy exists because those patterns were bigger than one domain.
Not because we're done talking about marching.
Exactly.
If anything, we found a container that fits the whole picture.
CineMarch Media wouldn't be where we are right now if it wasn't for that first step.
And we wouldn't be here without all of you. Thank you.
Yes, and thanks for sticking with us during this pivot.
Sometimes growing pains are just what the homeopath ordered.
Hey,
Homeopath, don't play that. Ugh, awful.
Alright, before we get into the really geeky system-breaking stuff,
We have to do the part where we lovingly pass around the digital hat.
yes, it's time to talk about the CineMarch Media Information Club.
Which is absolutely unapologetically inspired by the Mystery Science Theater 3000 Info Club.
Because that is exactly who we are.
And we think it might be who you are too.
Won't you?
If you're enjoying this, if you like independent media, deep analysis, and jokes about very grim systems,
And adorable mascots delivering revolutionary clarity.
that's your club.
So here's how it works.
For $7 a month, you get either CultFroggy or Marxists at the movies.
All content 1 full month early, and you even get a welcome letter and stickers.
Plus, bonus series just for members.
Already a very solid deal.
But if you want everything, that's only $12 a month.
2 podcasts.
2 mascots.
1 media project that refuses to be normal about power or anything else for that matter.
What a bargain.
And because we are not monsters,
There's a 1-week free trial at any tier.
try it out.
See if it's your kind of weird.
The CineMarch Media Information Club can be found at patreon.com/CineMarch Media.
Or check our website at cinemarchmedia.com.
Visit today. So, what did we learn today?
We learned that cults are everywhere, and frogs are apparently doing a lot of emotional
We
lifting.
learned that if something feels off,
It might actually be off.
we learned that discomfort isn't a moral failure.
And exhaustion is not proof of commitment,
We learned that patterns repeat across systems.
even when the wallpaper changes.
And most importantly,
We learned that you're not broken for noticing.
so much. If anything today helped put language to something you felt for a long time,
Or helped you trust your own perception a little more?
that's the work.
No pressure to do anything with it right now.
You're allowed to sit with it.
You're allowed to take breaks.
And you're allowed to leave rooms that make you feel smaller.
That's cult literacy.
We want to thank our mascots.
CultFroggy, Sentinel of the Swamp,
And Myron Rosander Francis, Communist Tabby, keeper of the amphibian side-eye.
who may have more in common than they'd like to admit.
Definitely more than Myron thinks.
Stay tuned.
You can find CultFroggy and Marxists at the movies on YouTube, TikTok,
And everywhere else you get your audio.
to directly support the show, you can check out the CineMarch Media Information Club at patreon.com/CineMarch Media.
Or grab merch and more.
All at CineMarchMedia.com.
And if this episode resonated,
Share it with someone who might need the language.
or just sit quietly and feel smug about your pattern recognition.
Both are valid.
We hope you've enjoyed this introduction to CultFroggy. Stay tuned every 4 weeks for regular episodes with Patreon bonus episodes in between.
Take care of yourselves.
And remember,
If the water feels wrong,
it probably is.
this is CultFroggy.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to CultFroggy.
Cold froggy, jumping through the lights, peeling back the layers, opening your eyes. From the preacher's pulpit to the boardroom floor, cults are everywhere, can't ignore them no more.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Copyright 2026, CineMarch Media.